Hello there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and thanks so much for stopping by the channel. It is week 1 of the Crochetasaurus Rex Crochet Along, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make the arms for our dinosaur. To follow along with this tutorial, you're going to need your 3.25 or D crochet hook. You're going to need 2 different worsted weight yarns in different colors. So we're going to be using the green color, and color A is technically this white color, but you'll see me using this golden color just so you can see things a little bit more clearly. You're going to need a tapestry needle, a stitch marker, and some polyfill stuffing. So let's hop on into crocheting the arms for our Crochetasaurus Rex. Alright, so now we're going to start our arms, and we're going to be starting with color A. For me, I'm using this yellow, even though it's technically color C. For color A, you're going to be using this white color, but just so you guys can see a little clearer, I'm going to be using the yellow, because white, you're just not going to see a whole lot here on my desktop. So I'm going to use this yellow, and we're going to start by creating a magic circle. So I'm going to lay the yarn across my palm like this and pin the yarn tail down. Then holding on to the working end of the yarn, I'm going to wrap around the back of my fingers and bring it around to the front and cross it over itself like this to create an X. Now while I maintain tension on the working end of the yarn, I'm going to flip my hand over, bringing the yarn with me, and I'm going to pin it down between my ring finger and my pinky finger here. Now I'm going to grab my crochet hook and insert it under the first strand and over the second, and then I'm going to pull that second strand all the way out under the first here. Now what you're going to do is turn your hook to create this little loop so it has a cross in the yarn. Then we'll yarn over using the working end of the yarn here and pull that yarn through the loop on our hook. And that's your magic circle completed. So you can remove your fingers from the loop, and you see that your yarn tail is tucked into the center of the ring. We want to pull that out. And now we're ready to start with round 1 of our dinosaur's arms. So for round 1, we're going to work 6 single crochets into the magic ring, which means we're going to insert our hook into the ring and under the yarn tail, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. That's your first single crochet completed. So back into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And that's your second single crochet completed. So we're going to keep doing these single crochets until we have 6 stitches worked into the ring. So we've got 3, and 6. So we've got these 6 single crochets, and you can double check your count by turning the work so the V's are facing up, and you can count each of the V's across, making sure to catch that first stitch there. It does tend to want to hide off to the side here. Make sure you've got 6. Now that you've got 6, you can grab the tail on your magic ring here and pull that tight. Okay. And this is what your first round should look like at this point. So then we're ready to move into round 2. Make sure that you've got your stitch marker handy, because you're going to need that in just a moment. So we're going to work a single crochet increase into each stitch around, and a single crochet increase is when you work 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. So we're going to start that now into that first stitch, and that might be a little tight for you. And that's okay. Just be patient, and you'll get in there. So what we'll do is we'll single crochet once into that first stitch, and then we'll grab our stitch marker. Now when you're placing your stitch marker, you want to place it into the top of the stitch that we just created. And I really like these locking stitch markers because I know they're not going to go anywhere on me. So working back into that same stitch, we're going to single crochet a second time. And that's your first single crochet increase completed. So then we're going to work into the next stitch, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into that stitch. So there's 1, back into the same stitch, and single crochet a second time. All right, so if you'd like to pause your video and work 2 single crochets into each stitch around, At the end of this round, you should have 12 single crochets completed. So I'll meet you back here in just a moment and I'll show you how to move on to round 3. All right, so I just finished round 2 and we're moving into round 3. For round 3, we have a pattern repeat that we need to do a total of 6 times. And that repeat is 1 single crochet into the first stitch there and a single crochet increase into the next. And I'll show you how we're going to do that now. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to move up our stitch marker. We're going to continue to move that stitch marker up to mark the first stitch of the round in every round of the arm. Now we're going to work a single crochet increase into this second stitch here. So here's our first single crochet, back into the same stitch, and there's a second single crochet. All right, so that's our pattern repeat. We've done our 1 single crochet in the first stitch and a single crochet increase into the next. We need to do this a total of 6 times around, which means we need to do it 5 more times. So let's do it together again. 1 single crochet into the first stitch, single crochet increase into the next. So there's the first single crochet, back into the same stitch, and here's our second single crochet. All right, and that's our second repeat. We'll do this one more time together. 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochets or a single crochet increase into the next. All right, and now that's 3 repeats. So if you'd like to pause your video and finish the last 3 repeats on your own, I'll meet you back here at the end of the round to show you moving into round 4. At the end of this round, you should have 18 single crochet stitches. All right, so now we're moving into round 4, and round 4 is a fun round because we're going to give our dinosaur some toes. So we're going to start by working 1 single crochet into each of the first 6 stitches. Let's work our first stitch here together and move up our stitch marker. All right, so there's 1, and now we need to do the next 5 stitches. All right, so now that I have a total of 6 stitches completed, I'm going to do my first toe. And now our toe is created by doing a modified bobble stitch, which is a series of incomplete stitches all worked together as one. So let's do that together. So we're going to yarn over hook and insert our hook into the next stitch here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 stitches only. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to yarn over and insert back into that same stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now you should have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, go back into that same stitch again. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops only. All right, now you have 4 loops on your hook. And we're going to yarn over one last time, go back into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops, and now you should have 5 loops on your hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops at the same time. And that's your first bobble stitch completed. Now we're going to work a single crochet into that next stitch here. So now we're going to do our next bobble stitch. So we're going to start by, again, yarning over and inserting into that next stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we'll yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops only. And now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and back into that same stitch. Pull up a loop. And yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and back into that same stitch again. Pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops only. So we have 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over and back into that same stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops only. And now you should have 5 loops on your hook. You know your stitch is completed once you have those 5 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops on our hook at the same time. Then we're going to work 1 single crochet into this next stitch. And then we're going to do our last bobble stitch. So we're going to yarn over and insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over, back into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Then we're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops only. So now I've got 5 loops on my hook, and so I'm going to yarn over and pull through all those loops at once. And now I'm going to single crochet once into each of the remaining 7 stitches. So there's 1, so at the end of this round, you still have those 18 stitches, but some of our stitches are these little bobble stitch toes. Now, one of the things you need to be aware of is the right side versus the wrong side of your project. So if I take a look, these bobbles are pointing to the wrong side of the fabric, and your wrong side should look like this. All right. So what we need to do is pull your hook out, and we're going to turn our work. The right side of your amigurumi project should be facing you while you're crocheting it. And then you take your fingers and you pop those bobble stitches to the right side of the fabric. Now don't worry if it's a little tricky, it'll pop themselves out a little more on their own once you start adding your stuffing. Right? And you again you can poke them out even further as you're adding additional rounds and they have some more support on top of them. All right. So now we're ready to move on to our next round. And now I forgot that we were actually supposed to change colors going into our next round. So we're actually going to pull out that last stitch here. And we're going to start our stitch like we normally would with this yellow. So we're going to insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And with those last 2 loops on our hook, we're going to put our work down and grab our color B. So for color B, that is the green, so the main color of our work. And we're going to change colors. Now I like to put a slip knot in my yarn when I change my colors, especially when I'm on the video, so it doesn't slide around, but you can just lay it over your hook if that's your preference. So we're going to yarn over our hook with the new color, and we're going to pull that through both loops on our hook to complete our single crochet in the new color. And I think I pulled off the camera there, so I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure you guys see that well. So I've got my 2 colors, or my 2 loops here of my old color, yarning over with the new color. And then I'm just going to pull that through the last 2 stitches of my stitch here to finish it. And now we're ready to move on in the new color. So you can cut your tail or your yarn from your old color. We're not going to need this color again now. And if you'd like, you can either crochet over your tails or you can weave them in. I'm going to crochet over mine, and I'm going to cut my tail, go a couple inches here. And we're ready to keep going. So for rounds 5 through 7, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So we're old hats at single crochet now. So you can pause your video if you'd like and work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. But if you want to crochet over your tails and you're not familiar with how to do that, I'm just going to show you that quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the yarn tails. I'm holding them at the back of my work. And then I'm just going to single crochet into the stitch as normal. But when I do that, I'm making sure, let me move my yarn, that the yarn tails are on top of where my hook is located. And then I'm going to single crochet. And when I single crochet, it's going to catch those yarn tails in my stitch, and it's going to pin them along the back of my work. All right. So if you'd like to pause your video and do rounds 5, 6, and 7, working 1 single crochet into each stitch around. I'll meet you back here at the end of round 7 to show you how we're moving into round 8. All right, so I just finished my last stitch of round 7, and before we move on to round 8, I wanted to just take a moment to remind you that if you haven't already done so, to take care of your yarn tail from your magic ring. So you can either tie a couple of knots in it like I'm going to here, making sure that your knots are as close to the fabric as possible, or you can use your yarn needle and weave them in. If you'd like, you can cut your yarn tail when you're done so it doesn't get in the way, or you can just leave it hanging and it can contribute to the stuffing that you're going to add to your dinosaur's arm. So I'm just going to tie my knot here, and I'm going to cut mine just so it doesn't get in the way of what you can see here on the video. So I'm going to make sure that's the right side facing out. And we're ready to move on to round 8. So for round 8 is where we're going to start decreasing our stitches so that way we can begin to close the leg. So we have a pattern repeat that we need to do a total of 3 times in this round, and that repeat is 1 single crochet into each of the first 4 stitches followed by a decrease. So let's do that together now. We're going to work our first single crochet into that first stitch and move up our stitch marker. And then we'll work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. All right, so now that we've got 4 single crochets completed, we're going to do our decrease. And when we're doing amigurumi, we want to do our decrease slightly differently than we normally would for a single crochet decrease. We're going to work these stitches into the front loops only of the stitches in order to make it less visible on the front of the fabric. And this is often called an invisible decrease, and you can find a tutorial on that here on the channel, but I'll show you quickly how to do that now. Now, when you look at your stitches, you've got these 2 V's here, and there's 2 loops. There's the front loop that's closest to you, and the loop that's furthest from you is the back loop only. So we're going to work into those front loops only by going up and under the front loop of the first stitch. And we might have to do a little twisting with your hook to get up and under the front loop only as under the next stitch. And then you will work your single crochet as you normally do, and that decreases your stitch. Now that's our first single crochet decrease. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. There's 1, and 4. And now we're going to do another decrease. So again, up and under the front loops of the first and second stitch, and then single crochet. All right, and that's our decrease completed. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. All right, there's 4, and then we're going to work a single crochet decrease. All right, now at the end of round 8, you should have 15 single crochet stitches. And now we're ready to move into round 9. For round 9, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So if you'd like to pause your video and work 1 single crochet into each stitch, I'll meet you back here at the end to show you how we're moving into round 10. All right, so we're here and we're starting for round 10 now. In round 10, we have a pattern repeat we're going to do 3 times, and that repeat is 1 single crochet into each of the first 3 stitches, followed by a decrease. So let's do that now. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into that first stitch, move up our stitch marker, and they're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. All right, so now that we've got those 3 single crochets completed, we're going to work our decrease stitch. So again, up and under the front loop of the first and second stitch, and then we'll single crochet as normal. All right, that's our first pattern repeat. We're going to do that 2 more times. 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And now we're going to do a single crochet decrease into the next. So up and under the front loops of the first and second stitches, then single crochet. All right, and now we have 1 more repeat to do. So that's 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, followed by a single crochet decrease over these last 2 stitches here. At the end of round 10, you should have 12 single crochet stitches around the top of your piece. And at this point, I think that you should stop and put your hook down, and we're going to start stuffing our arm. So when you're stuffing your arm, I've already talked about this when we did our leg, so I'm not going to go over it in detail. Pick up your stuffing, pull it apart, and then start to stuff. Now, pay particular attention to the area close to the toes, and it will help to keep those toes popped out into the right direction. Now, when you're stuffing, make sure that you stuff your arm firmly, and then make sure to take little breaks and add stuffing as we continue to work through the piece. All right, so that's all set. So now we're moving into round 11. Round 11, you'll just work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So if you'd like to pause your video and work 1 single crochet into each stitch, I'll meet you back here at the end of the round to show you how we're moving into round 12. All right, so we're ready to move into round 12, and we have a pattern repeat for round 12 that we're going to do 3 times, and that repeat is 1 single crochet into each of the first 2 stitches followed by a decrease. So let's do that now. Here's 1 single crochet into the first stitch, move up my stitch marker, and 1 single crochet into the next. Now that we have our 2 single crochets completed, we're going to work our decrease. So working up and under the front loops of the first and second stitch. Then we single crochet. That's our first pattern repeat completed. We're going to do that again. 1 single crochet into the first and second stitches. And now we'll do a decrease. So working up and under those front loops of the first and second stitches, then we single crochet. And one more time, we're going to work 1 single crochet into the first and second stitches. And then we'll do our decrease stitch by working under the front loops of the first and second stitches here, and then we single crochet. All right, so now our arm is complete. What I'd recommend is taking your hook and pulling your loop so it's quite large, so that way you have some space to finish adding your stuffing. I'm just going to do that quickly here. All right, so now that I'm satisfied with it being stuffed, I'm going to cut my yarn tail. And I'm going to leave a tail of probably about, 10 to 15 inches. You can cut it longer or shorter depending on what your preference is, but just make sure that you have enough to sew your arm onto the dinosaur. So then we're going to grab our tapestry needle, because we're going to close up the hole on the top here. So pull your yarn tail all the way through that last stitch here and thread the yarn tail onto your tapestry needle. Then we're going to get rid of that stitch marker here. And we're going to use our needle to weave the yarn tail through the front loops of the last round. So we're going to go up and under the front loop and pull the yarn tail through. Up and under the front loop of the next stitch, and all the way through. And we're just going to do this in every stitch around. And as we touched on in the leg video, this is called the ultimate finish, and it's going to help us cinch the leg close and get the ultimate finish to the top of our open project. All right, so we're at the end here. And then we're just going to pull that yarn tail and cinch that hole closed. So what you can do is you can either leave your yarn tail here, or what I like to do is I like to go up or down and through the center of the magic circle and out through the side of the toy. when you're picking a side, you want to do the opposite side on the next leg or next arm, because you want your yarn tail to be on the inside of where you're going to sew it. All right, so that's it. That's how you make the leg or arm, I should say, for our little dinosaur. And I'll catch you in the next video where we'll be working on the tail for our dinosaur. And you also need to make 2 of these, so make sure you rewind the video and watch the video from the beginning again to make your second arm. So thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.